Welcome. I'm Bill Wake. This is my summary of the work we did last week on Twitch. We're working on a project called KiltCalc that's a kilt calculator. Kilt makers work a little differently than the rest of tailordom, and we want to support that for them. All right, so this week what we did was we added a caution screen at the beginning. I'm going to release this to more people as sort of a beta test, and I want to make sure they know, like, check your work, measure twice, cut once kind of thing. And don't just rely on me, make sure it makes sense. I don't know if that's just too paranoid or not, but I really do want people to be careful. Okay, then we did some work on the calculator part. We have a memory recall button, kind of like many calculators, and it replaces the last number being used. So if you say 3 plus 7 MR, it's going to replace the 7 with the result in the memory calculators, the memory cell, I guess you could say. And vice versa, if you type 33 and hit MR, you're going to get whatever's in the memory. Okay. And we also did a change with the result, again, to be more like a typical calculator. If you, let's say you say 40 plus 2 equals, you get 42. And that's 42 sitting there in the little display, and you say plus 6 equals, well, it gets 48 at that point. The old way, the plus would erase the whole 42, and you'd just be left with plus 6 equals, which looks like a syntax error, basically. All right, the next thing we found was there was a problem with the keyboard, and it would kind of intermittently remove part that you needed. And I don't know, we tried a bunch of things to fix it without any luck. So in the end, we replaced that keyboard with a standard one. So rather than have a couple custom buttons on it, it just has what we need on the main buttons. Okay, so the keyboard problem on the left, you have the one that when it's working, it has a done button and a slash button. You use a slash to enter fractions. So you can see on the right, it says 2 and 4/8. You type 2.4/8. But on the right-hand screen, you can't type 2.4/8. The slash button is gone. And it seems like, I don't know, I can't tell. I never narrowed it down to when does it really just not work. But in any case, it did stop working at some point. So you'd go along and be fine for a few entries, and then you'd hit another one and it would just not have the buttons you need. And not having a done button isn't so good either, but because that hides the keyboard. But not having the slash meant you couldn't enter your numbers. So we are taking a cheap way out, I guess you'd say. We're using the numeric screen from your normal keyboard. So the keyboard comes up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That view of it, and it has a slash and it has a dot and it has a done button. So we can replace those. And we can use those in here now. It gives you smaller buttons and it's not as nice, but it's if I can't fix the problem that way, I have to do something like this. Now I think we can define our own kind of keyboard view at some point. Maybe make the keys look more like that first screen, but that was just kind of too far for us to go this time. We only had a few days to work on it. All right, let's see a demo and let's see some code. Okay, so here's that warning screen. Welcome to KiltCalc. We're designed for kilt makers. Before you cut expensive fabric, double check your calculations. That's the kind of thing I want to share with them and solicit some feedback. Okay, let's look at the calculator part first. So we'll put something in memory, M plus, okay, and now let's do a calculation, 7 plus 3, and if I hit MR, memory recall, it's going to replace the 3 with what's in memory, which we now show here, the 24. So that's fine. All right, now if I have 24 plus MR, and then I start typing a different number over top of it, it replaces that. Okay, so I get, either the recalled value or the other one. You don't get a combination of both. So if I hit MR, I don't want to get 22524. That's just not sensible. All right, the other one was more like keeping this result. So I've got this result, 249. If I say plus 1 equals, I want it to be 250. Okay, but if I start typing something that's not an operator, then there's no reasonable thing to type. I don't want to. I want the 250 to be its own number. If I type a digit, I want to override it. If I type a left parentheses, 250 left parend, we don't have any implicit multiplication, so it's not the start of a valid expression. So, some other number gets typed, it erases that last computed value, and that's how I wanted it. Okay, let's go on over here. Okay, so just clicking in the field brings up this calculator, and I can type an expression like I would use and mark it done, and it gets recorded. So it's doable. It's smaller. I think my actual screen is a little smaller than this, so your fingers hit a little more. It's a little harder for them. But on the other hand, a keyboard that always works is definitely important. So we'll live with this for now. Okay, let's see some of the code then. So the first, the memory recall, and basically the line we added was this: if what was there is an operand, if they were already starting to type a number, delete that, and then bring the value from memory and store that in the input, so as if they had typed it. That's pretty straightforward. I guess is operand, we'll look at that. Basically, if you're a digit, a dot, a slash, a unit like inches, or a previous value, that's not that's an operand. We want to overwrite it and put in the memory result. All right, let's find the flip case of that. Basically, like if you're entering a digit and the last entry is a value, we're going to remove it and then put in your new entry as an operand. Not too tricky. Okay, and then let's look at the initial result stuff. Okay, so what we did there is this enter is it's sort of like the central dispatch for the keyboard. So every keystroke that comes in is an entry. And before we do anything, as you're typing, we check, should we retain the previous result? So let's go up there. When the heart of that is, if it's an equals a binary operator, a memory add, or a memory subtract, then that's like my 42 plus, that's a binary operator, 6 equals, we should retain the 42 then. So that helps out. Okay. And then finally, the keyboard stuff. We have a validating text field. It's got its label. It's got the text box you type into. And in here, it specifies the keyboard type, numbers, and punctuation. Before, we did a keyboard type that was it's like the phone keypad, but we want you to add these two buttons on top, and they've got some formatting to them and so on. Not horribly complex, but it did have some stuff to manage, like which field is focused and how do I know where to put the number and stuff like that. So we ended up basically just ripping that code out. It always feels good to delete something, but if I had a keyboard that it fit what I really wanted, that would be better. All right, you can join us Monday through Thursday, 2 to 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time or 6 to 8:30 p.m. UTC, but not the week of September 16th. I'm out of town. I'll be back September 23rd. We'll be going on a new project, a word game. I think I will come back to KiltCalc again later. There's still too many things I want to do in there, but we'll do a little bit of game work first. If you come to xp123.com/Twitch, you'll get to the live session if we're live. And if you come to xp123.com/YouTube, you can find all the old sessions. They're time delayed a couple of weeks and they're lightly edited. All right. Well, thanks for joining today. I hope you can come visit us some other time while we're doing this session, and have a good night.